Hi everyone at Book Reporter and everyone in the audience. I am thrilled to be here talking to you about 3 novels from Norton's list. I'm Erin Lovett. I am the VP Senior Publicity Director, and the 3 novels that I'm going to be talking to you about are extraordinary. So sit back and enjoy. The first is Jean. For anyone who loved Donna Tartt's A Secret History and Dead Poets Society, and let's be honest, I think that's everyone in this audience, this is the book for you. Jean by Madeline Dunnigan is squarely in the dark academia category. It's a quiet coming-of-age story set at a British boarding school for boys in the summer of 1976. At this school, Jean is an outsider among outsiders. His Jewish heritage and scholarship status make him stand out among the loud, posh voices of his peers. Then Jean meets Tom, a popular boy who begins an illicit relationship with him. The novel is bruising, interesting, sublime. It gets at the core of what everyone is longing for: to find their community, to be accepted, to belong. There are glowing blurbs from Garth Greenwell, who calls it extraordinary, and Jonathan Safran Foer, who calls it a gift. This is truly a novel not to be missed, and if you'd like copies, let me know. The next novel is Son of Nobody. I would wager that almost all of you have read the profoundly moving book Life of Pi, or you've seen the dazzling movie by Ang Lee. That book won the Booker Prize and became a global bestseller. It played with our sense of reality. Was the boy really with a tiger in a boat? It was hard to tell, but it didn't matter. The author, Jan Martel, because he's so brilliant at what he does, brings you into his worlds and creates these beautiful universes where you're along for the ride. And he's at it again. Norton is thrilled to be launching The Son of Nobody, which also plays with our sense of what we think we know. In this book, we are introduced to a Canadian scholar named Harlow Dunn. While at Oxford, he discovers fragments of a lost Trojan War epic. The reader is uncertain whether these fragments exist, but it doesn't matter because the storytelling is so beautiful and so believable. He's studying the texts, and while studying them, recognizes in the tale parallels to his own story, which become increasingly more vivid as the novel goes on. The book is also told in an unusual way. The pages of the book are divided in 2 by a black line. Above the line are fragments of the lost text, and below the line are the scholar's footnotes, where he's interpreting the book and weaving his own story, and slowly a lot of major things are revealed that are shocking and profound. It's a true marvel and unlike anything you've encountered before. Highly encourage you to pick it up. And finally, again, many of you may have read Snow Falling on Cedars, which was a brilliant and beautiful novel published roughly 30 years ago by David Guterson. This is his new novel. It's called Evelyn in Transit, and it is about a young woman named Evelyn who is lost in the world. She is traveling, doesn't have a place to call home, doesn't feel connected to this country, and then has a child with a man who is a fleeting person in her life. They have no real connection, and he quickly disappears, but she has this child that she suddenly feels very connected to. And then she gets a knock on her door, and it's someone from the High Tibetan community who tells her that her son is a reincarnation of one of the High Lamas, and they should go to Nepal, where he should fulfill his destiny. And as a mother, you're then confronted with the reality of how you have the power to decide the fate of your children. And should he stay in a country that she doesn't feel connected to, or should he go to a country which is so foreign and beyond his vision, but maybe that's where he's meant to be? The novel is surprising. It ends in a really unconventional way that is absolutely worth the read. And David Guterson himself is a lovely human being who really pours his heart and soul into all of his books, and this is one that really illuminates his true character as just a kind and open-hearted person. I encourage you to read all 3 of these. Again, it's Jean, Son of Nobody, and David Gooderson's Evelyn in Transit, and thank you for reading.
Hi, my name is Danielle Prelip. I'm a senior marketing director for the flagship imprint of Simon & Schuster, and I'm excited to tell you about 6 upcoming novels from Simon & Schuster and 37 Inc. that are perfect for book clubs. First up, we have Rebecca Fallon's beautifully written debut novel, Family Drama. A story told through intertwined timelines, Family Drama follows the double life of Susan Bliss, a young mother of twins married to a professor in New England, who is also known as Susan Byrne and stars in a beloved soap opera airing coast to coast. Decades later, after her untimely death, Susan's children don't know about her fame, but slowly begin to put together the pieces of a mother they never really had a chance to know. This wonderful novel is an exploration of the different versions of ourselves we share with the world and with each other. Next up is a new novel from New York Times bestselling author Sadiqa Johnson, Keeper of Lost Children. Another adventure into little-known history, Keeper of Lost Children follows the intertwined stories of Ethel Gathers, the wife of an American officer stationed in occupied Germany in the 1950s, who's on a mission to find homes for the abandoned mixed-race children of German women and Black American GIs. Ozzie Phillips, a volunteer for the newly desegregated U.S. Army in Mannheim, and his girlfriend Jelka, and Sophia Clark, a young girl in the 1960s who's given the opportunity to attend a prestigious all-white boarding school and discovers a secret that upends her world. Moving between the lives of these three, this book explores how one woman's vision will change the course of countless lives. New from Jung Yoon, author of 2 previous novels, is All the World Can Hold. Set in the days following 9/11 in 2001, 3 passengers from varying walks of life board a cruise ship bound for Bermuda, but they quickly learn that despite their luxurious surroundings, the interpersonal dramas don't cease, and they can't outrun their regrets. If you're a fan of Dolly Alderton and Hacks on HBO, you won't want to miss Hallie Cantor's laugh-out-loud funny debut novel, Like This But Funnier. Following Caroline, a TV writer in her mid-30s who's mired in professional envy and self-hatred, Caroline accidentally finds herself pitching a TV show to a producer that's based on notes from a session with one of her therapist husband's clients. As the Hollywood development process progresses, Caroline must choose between her deep desire for professional validation and the health of her own morality and marriage. Already praised as bringing the real New York to life with flair and grace by James McBride, Abigail Savage-Lou's debut novel, Livonia Chow Mein, offers a gripping family saga that spans a century and hinges on the mystery of who was responsible for the 1978 arson of 2 tenements on Livonia Avenue in Brownsville, an act that killed 1 resident and displaced dozens of others. The survivors are convinced the responsible party is Mr. Wong, and decades later, his granddaughter Sadie returns to the neighborhood, determined to unravel the mystery of what really happened the night the buildings burned. Last, but most certainly not least, is another wonderful debut novel from Natalie Lemley, Artifacts. If you have all been caught up by the coverage of the Louvre antiquity heist, this book is a must-read. Artifacts follows Trusts and Estates attorney Lena Connolly as she takes on a case in which the Italian government is seeking the repatriation of an artifact they claim was looted and sold to a New York City museum illegally. As the case progresses, Lena finds her ill-fated past study abroad experience on an archaeological dig in Italy brought unexpectedly into the mix, as new information about what truly happened on the dig is revealed. The allegedly looted artifact may in fact have been taken from the very site she helped unearth. As ever, I'd like to end with a big thank you from the team here at Simon & Schuster and 37 Inc. and to wish you and your book groups happy reading.
Hi everyone, it's always nice to be part of this event. Thank you to Carol Fitzgerald and her team. I know it takes a village to pull off an event like this, and you're all so brilliant. My name is Randy Chan. I'm the marketing director for HTP Books, which is Harlequin Trade Publishing, and we are part of the HarperCollins family. And I'm starting with our biggest book called It's Not Her by Mary Kubica. And what I mean by biggest book is that Mary Kubica is truly at the top of her game. She's come off of bestseller after bestseller, including Local Woman Missing, which we've now sold over 1 million copies in North America. But also in terms of her craft, she somehow takes the art of the cliffhanger and the art of the twist to new levels every time. I've read every one of her books because I want to, not because I have to. It's Not Her is set in a lakeside resort in northern Wisconsin, where a woman is vacationing with her family, and she discovers the bodies of her brother and sister-in-law on the front porch of their cabin. But also, her teenage niece is missing. So cue the race to find the killer, to find the missing niece. And when I say no one is to be trusted and that every family member could be a suspect, this is truly a thriller with surprises, including an ending that one bookseller who has already nominated for Indie Next said is jaw-dropping. Mary Kubica is the thriller writer that other thriller writers go to. You're going to see It's Not Her everywhere in the new year, so please get ahead of the buzz and read it for yourself. The next book is Hollow by Selena Myers. Selena is that rare combination of social media star and an excellent writer. She has over 1 million followers on social media. Her handle is Selena Spooky Boo. Among other things, she has videos of her sleepwalking. You may know her from that. And the thing about TikTok creators is that people like Selena think about curating content 24/7. And so she has a natural knack for delivering entertaining and engaging stories. She grew up obsessed with Twilight and the Vampire Diaries, and so Hollow is an homage to her love of vampires. Hollow is about a bookseller who is involved in a tragic car accident, and when she reawakens, she's a vampire and she must adjust to life with her newfound powers, along with forbidden romances and betrayals at every turn. Selena recently spoke at the United for Libraries virtual gala tea, and she was so popular she won over many people that day. And also at ALA Annual earlier this year, Hollow was our most requested advanced reading copy at our booth. And now on to That's What Friends Are For by Wade Rouse. There are 2 things you need to know about this book. One is that the author is Wade Rouse, who normally writes under a pseudonym called Viola Shipman, who has published a lot of commercial fiction like The Edge of Summer, The Page Turner. Wade is beloved. I know Carol is great friends with him. Many authors, booksellers, and librarians are. And now Wade is coming out from behind the veil of his pseudonym for this new book. The second thing you need to know about That's What Friends Are For is that it is inspired by the Golden Girls. It's about 4 friends in Palm Springs who are known as the Golden Gays because they do a weekly drag show at a nightclub, and also because their personas match the personalities of Dorothy, Rose, Blanche, and Sophia. And like a really great episode of The Golden Girls, which is really to say like every episode of The Golden Girls, this novel is about found family, about estranged family, about unconditional love. It is so much fun to read with a lot of heart. If you carry Stephen Rowley in your store, you really should order this book up. On to something completely different. It's a memoir, and it's called Homeschooled by Stefan Merrill Block. At our HarperCollins sales conference, our sales reps lined up in a queue to rave about this book. And shortly after, author endorsements started to roll in. So for example, Mary Carr, author of The Liars Club, said this is a coming-of-age saga for the ages. Michael Cunningham said, this memoir is so insightfully written that you can't always separate its loving aspects from its horrifying ones. And Emma Straub said this is an instant classic. We already have booksellers nominating for Indie Next. So, what is the fuss all about? Homeschooled is set in Plano, Texas in the 1990s, and it is Stefan's story about his relationship with his mother, who pulled Stefan from the public school system because of an all-consuming love that grew increasingly eccentric and erratic. So for example, she didn't want her son to grow up quickly, so she dyed his hair blonde to match his earlier years, and she put him on a crawling regimen as though he was a baby. This is Tara Westover's Educated, told with the humor and the heart of David Sedaris and Jeanette McCurdy, and it is extraordinary. The next book is Japanese Gothic by Kylie Lee Baker, and Kylie does it all. She was a successful YA author, but then transitioned into adult fiction, and so her adult debut was Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang, which was both an Indie Next pick and a Library Reads pick. I have yet to meet anyone who doesn't love that book. And now her follow-up is Japanese Gothic, a haunted house story rich with Japanese mythology, samurai history, and contemporary horror elements. And all I'll say is that it is a dual timeline, dual narrator story about two people living centuries apart. But one of these people is a ghost, and one of these stories is a lie. And finally, we come to the author Jasmine Moss. Jasmine shot to fame with the romantic fantasy Blood of Hercules, which, according to Edelweiss Analytics, we've sold over 7,000 copies through the indie channel alone, 15,000 reviews on the story graph. Jasmine is the real deal. She has a degree in ancient Greco-Roman studies from Georgetown and is a former lawyer, but it turns out writing is her calling. And we debuted a new series called the Cruel Shifterverse Trilogy, starting with Psycho Shifters last year, and this coming season we'll have Psycho Fae in January and Psycho Beasts in April. Set in a dystopian world of alternate universes, populated with humans, shifters, and fae, these are steamy and riveting fantasy books that are in high demand. Thanks for listening, everybody. Take care and talk soon.
Hi, I'm Maris Tasaka, and I'm a marketing manager here at Grand Central Publishing, and I'm excited to talk to you about 3 upcoming releases that we have. We recently launched a new imprint here at Grand Central, Cardinal, with our first novel publishing in September, and we're so excited to talk about 2 upcoming novels we have from the imprint. The Heir Apparent is a debut novel by Rebecca Armitage that comes out on December 2nd. This is a modern fairy tale that author Holly Ringland notes as, think The Crown meets Taylor Jenkins Reid. To set the scene, it's New Year's Day in Tasmania, where Lexi Villiers is in the 2nd year of her medical residency. She lives on a beautiful farm with her 2 best friends, Finn and Jack, and she is just starting to fall for Jack when a helicopter abruptly lands. Out steps her grandmother's right-hand man with the tragic news that her father and older brother have been killed in a skiing accident. Lexi's grandmother happens to be the Queen of England, and in addition to the shock and grief, Lexi must now accept the reality that she is suddenly next in line for the throne, a role that she has publicly disavowed. As Lexi returns to London as the heir apparent, Princess Alexandria, she is greeted by a skeptical public not ready to forgive her defection, a grieving sister-in-law harboring an explosive secret, and a scheming uncle who's determined to claim the throne for himself. As we see everything unfold, her grandmother grants her 1 year to decide and choose her own destiny and whether she wants to ascend to the crown. Whether you follow the royals or not, this is a beautifully written novel about love, family, and grief that we know you'll love. And the second Cardinal novel we want to talk to you about comes out next spring. The Golden Boy by Patricia Finn is a debut that comes out March 10th. This is a novel everyone here in the office is buzzing about, and we have incredible early praise for. Ellen Hildebrand called The Golden Boy extraordinary, and Richard Russo says this is wildly entertaining, by turns hilarious and heartbreaking. The Golden Boy follows Stafford and Agnes Hopkins as an unexpected letter Stafford receives uproots their lives and offers them both a shot at redemption. After an involuntary retirement from his high-flying Hollywood career, Stafford has retreated to a luxury estate on Maui, along with his wife Agnes, when a letter arrives. Stafford has been named guardian of 4 children he didn't know existed, the grandchildren of his late childhood friend, Bobby Shepherd, whose ghost Stafford can no longer ignore. Returning to both the hardscrabble farming town and the dark secret he's tried to forget for decades, Stafford is forced to confront his past in order to rebuild his future, and to redirect the fates of his family and the 4 young people suddenly in his care. The Golden Boy is both incredibly funny and deeply moving, and it tackles themes of love, mercy, and second chances. It really is the perfect book club book, one of those books where you can't stop thinking about the characters and immediately want to discuss it with a friend. We can't wait for you to read Patricia's debut. I'm very excited to talk about Lily Brooks Dalton's newest book, Ruins. Lily is the author of Good Morning Midnight and most recently, The Light Pirate, a Good Morning America book club selection and a #1 indie next pick. Lily's new novel is filled with gorgeous prose and is about a woman's journey to fulfill her dreams. In Ruins, we follow Ember Agnew, an archaeology professor whose true passion is to research and unearth a lost empire that only she believes exists. When she gets word that her former student found an artifact that could support her research, Ember's world is completely upended. Her marriage is already crumbling apart, and this news could just tip it over the edge. Her position at the university is becoming tenuous as she becomes more disinterested in teaching, and now the artifact's origin is being called into question. Ember must decide how much she is willing to sacrifice and what lengths she is willing to go to in order to pursue what this artifact could mean for her and for civilization itself. Whether you've read Lily's books before or are new to her, we know you'll love this book as much as we do. It's perfect for book clubs and for fans of authors like Emily St. John Mandel, Claire Fuller, and Julia Phillips.
The search for a notorious vigilante exposes the secrets of 3 generations of women. From the glitter of contemporary Los Angeles to the grit of 1970s New York comes Lady X, a propulsive novel of female resistance. A novel about mothers and daughters, rage and reckoning, and the legacies we inherit. It's sharp, daring, and impossible not to talk about, perfect for fans of The Great Believers or bright young women. In the quiet town of Portsmouth, Rhode Island, Lily Webb believed she had already lived her great love story, until life and one terrible night in 1977 changed everything. Sweeping and deeply emotional, The Laws of Love and Logic explores passion, grief, and the delicate balance between reason and desire. It's a novel that invites conversation about love, loss, and the ways our hearts defy all logic. Perfect for readers of Broken Country and The Paper Palace. They were sent away to be forgotten, and this is their story. It's 1968, and the future is bright for 17-year-old Elizabeth Baker Phillips. She's the valedictorian of her high school with a place at Stanford in the fall and big dreams of becoming a journalist. Then, one impulsive summer changes everything. Pregnant and exiled to an old Victorian home for unwed mothers, Baker finds herself among a hidden sisterhood of girls confronting shame, secrecy, and the limits of choice. Where the Girls Were is a powerful, emotionally captivating, and compulsively readable historical novel. It is a timely unearthing of a little-known moment in American history when the sexual revolution and the feminist movement collided with the limits of reproductive rights and society's expectations of women. Immersive, urgent, and deeply moving, perfect for readers of Lessons in Chemistry, The Frozen River, and The House of Eve. A moving, deeply affecting portrait of the interlocking lives at an adult daycare center in Southern California, Upward Bound depicts members of an often overlooked community with extraordinary wit and grace. This includes Carlos, a young aide who lost his mother as a boy and now works there alongside his beloved sister, Mariana. Jorge, the gentle, non-speaking giant whom Carlos seeks to befriend. Tom, a beautiful young man with cerebral palsy who pines for Anne, the summer lifeguard. And Dave, Upward Bound's director who came to LA to pursue an acting career, but now challenges his passion into staging an overly ambitious holiday show starring the center's irrepressible clients. In Upward Bound, debut author Woody Brown has created an indelible, authentic, and profoundly moving group portrait of autism and other disabilities, all illuminated by his empathy, sly sense of humor, and enormous gifts as a novelist. With remarkable sophistication, insight, and creativity, Brown depicts a community too often invisible, both in literature and society. Filled with characters you won't soon forget, Upward Bound will inspire and touch you, teaching you as much about yourself as the tender, miraculous world behind the center's doors. This Is Not About Us is a kaleidoscopic portrait of the modern American family, steadfast, complicated, begrudging, and loving, from Allegra Goodman, the best-selling author of Isola. When their beloved sister passes away, Sylvia and Helen Rubinstein are unmoored. A misunderstanding about apple cake turns into a decade of stubborn silence. Busy with their own lives, divorces, dating, career setbacks, college applications, bat mitzvahs, and ballet recitals, their children do not want to get involved. As for their grandchildren, impossible. Sharply observed and laced with humor, This Is Not About Us is a story of growing up and growing old, the weight of parental expectations, and the complex connection between sisters. A big-hearted book about love that binds a family across generations. When Belle Burden's husband of 20 years walks out without warning, her world shatters overnight. And what follows is a story of heartbreak, self-discovery, and the courage it takes to start again. Set in Martha's Vineyard in the early days of the pandemic, Strangers is honest and deeply moving, a memoir about what happens when love ends and a new life begins. Burden revisits her marriage, searching for clues that her husband was not who she always thought that he was. And as she examines her relationship through a new lens, she reckons with her own family history and the lessons that she intuited about how a woman is expected to behave in the face of betrayal. Through all of it, she is transformed. Joyce Carol Oates calls it riveting and beautifully written. Graceful, intimate, aching, and love-filled. Think A Marriage Story meets My Year of Magical Thinking.
Hi, everyone. First, a huge thank you to Carol and the team for this gathering, and to my fellow presenters for all the books I now cannot wait to read. I'm Lauren Clouda, the Director of Retail Marketing and Creative Services at Sourcebooks, and I'm delighted to be here today to share 6 incredible upcoming titles, each sure to spark some truly great conversation. Let's start with something dark, romantic, and dangerous. From book talk sensation Lauren Palfreyman, publishing November 25th, comes the first in the Wolf King series, a thrilling and delicious romantasy for fans of forbidden passion, enemies to lovers, slow, scorching burns, and of course, werewolves. When Princess Aurora is kidnapped by an alpha wolf, a bloodthirsty war between humans and wolves erupts, with monsters on both sides. But amid the violence, court intrigue, and betrayal, a forbidden attraction blooms. As Aurora learns the wolves may not be all she was taught to fear, she faces an impossible choice: return to her kingdom or seize a future she never imagined. Think Highland setting and Scottish brogues of Outlander, but with werewolves. This is high-stakes romantasy at its best. Filled with steamy tension, rich world-building folklore, and a feminist edge, it's fast-paced, emotional, and completely bingeable. Book clubs will have so much to unpack, especially around themes of power, trauma, and breaking cycles of hate. The Wolf King series is my personal favorite of all of our lists right now, and I stayed up into the wee hours devouring this shifter romance. I am wholly addicted, as are so many advanced readers. Spice level rated R+, and Book 2, The Night Prince, drops February 2026. Next, let's travel to 1979 Yorkshire. Already a #1 Sunday Times bestseller, Jenny Godfrey's debut novel, The List of Suspicious Things, is a powerful coming-of-age story, rich in found family, the truths we forget as adults, and an engrossing investigation into a serial killer, based on the true crimes of Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper. Told through the eyes of 12-year-old Niv, who, along with her best friend in their search for the killer, find more secrets in their neighborhood, between themselves, and within their families than they ever thought possible. What begins as a game turns into something much deeper, a story about community, family struggles, and the loss of innocence. This bittersweet novel is perfect for fans of Dear Edward and The Trouble with Goats and Sheep, balancing tenderness and tension beautifully. Readers will fall in love with Miv's voice. It's funny, smart, and heartbreaking all at once. In their starred review, Kirkus calls The List of Suspicious Things imaginative, impressive, and illuminating. It's great for book clubs who love layered discussions about growing up, morality, and resilience. From Yorkshire to Alabama, acclaimed author Tara Shelton Harris delivers a mesmerizingly poignant story of redemption, asking readers to question what it means to stop surviving and start living in Where the Wildflowers Grow. Lee Wilde, the last of her family, never dared to hope for a second chance, but when the transport bus taking her to prison careens off the road, killing everyone on board except her, she survives and escapes. While searching for a place to hide, Lee stumbles upon a flower farm in rural Alabama, and desperate for sanctuary, she begins to work the land and slowly to heal. As she builds a quiet, tender romance with the farm's owner, she must ultimately face the ghosts of her past and the secrets that catch up with her. For fans of Black Cake, Where the Wildflowers Grow is an electrifying and beautifully evocative novel about forgiveness, redemption, and the beauty of second chances. Harris, author of One Summer in Savannah, writes with such grace, and this work marks the emergence of a powerful, fresh voice in American literature. Booklist calls her work a natural pick for book clubs, and it's easy to see why. The moral complexity here, what do we owe ourselves versus what we owe others, makes for deep, moving conversation. Expect tears and hope in equal measure. Shifting to the more sinister, national best-selling Jamaican-born author Camilla Cole makes her adult debut this December with An Arcane Inheritance, a chilling modern speculative fantasy set on the elite Ivy League campus of Warren University, where a simmering rivals to lovers romance begins to stir beneath the weight of institutional power designed to destroy anyone who dares to fight against it. Warren has stood for centuries, built on the bones and forbidden magic of its most brilliant BIPOC students, hiding the rot of a secret society that will do anything to keep its power burning bright. Freshman Ellery Morgan is determined to prove she belongs, but something about the campus feels strangely familiar. With every passing day, that sense of déjà vu grows darker. She knows she's been here before, and if she can't convince brooding legacy student Hudson Grace to help her recover her memories, she may lose herself for good. Fans of Leigh Bardugo's Ninth House and R.F. Kuang's Babel will be captivated by this dark academia where the gilded promises of higher education mask a legacy of exploitation. It's sharp, atmospheric, and thought-provoking, tackling colonialism, racism, privilege, and who gets to shape history or be erased from it, all wrapped in a haunting, high-stakes romantic fantasy. An Arcane Inheritance is dark academia at its most seductive and most dangerous. Next up, let's head to Texas in the 1980s for All the Little Houses, a scandalous small-town multiple POV thriller about mean girls, meaner moms, and a murder that shakes the Texas ruling class from their perms to their toes, with a shocking twist ending in the final pages that will rock even the most seasoned of mystery readers. Charlie Anderson is the queen bee of Longview's upper crust. That is until a new family moves in and threatens to unravel her perfect image. What follows? Jealous rivalries, steamy affairs, vicious backstabbing, scandal, and a shockingly vile murder. This one is pure, juicy fun. Desperate Housewives meets Dynasty meets Geneva Rose. May Cobb, the author of The Hunting Wives, which inspired the Netflix phenomenon, is known for her sharp-witted thrillers and scandalous plot twists, and this book delivers big time on both. A great book club pick for when you want something fast-paced and discussion-worthy, touching on class, ambition, envy, and the masks we wear. And finally, we close with a return to the Appalachian Hills in the Mountains We Call Home by Kim Michelle Richardson, the highly anticipated standalone companion to the Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek series, beloved by book clubs the world over. Cussie Levitt, a Packhorse librarian working in the hollers of Appalachia, is behind bars for marrying a white man. While incarcerated, Cussie finds a new calling as the prison librarian, bringing hope to downtrodden women by teaching them how to read and write. Her journeys take her from the Kentucky prison to the bustling streets of 1950s Louisville to the golden age of Detroit and beyond, shaping minds with books and bringing her indomitable grit and spirit to everyone she touches. Recommended by Dolly Parton herself and inspired by true stories, Richardson's writing is as lyrical and heartfelt as ever, rich in history and deeply compassionate. Longtime readers of the Bookwoman series will savor this harrowing next chapter in Cussie's story with cameos from beloved characters, while new readers will flock to the life-affirming message about the power of community, the poignant examination of criminalization and poverty, and the triumphant story about how books change lives and hearts. A perfect choice for book clubs that love stories about connection, courage, and heritage. And that does it for me and Sourcebooks today. Thank you so much for tuning in and for everything you do to bring books and readers together. I hope I've piqued your interest and that these titles provoke lively conversations for your clubs.